Good. Friday before Christmas Eve? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Well, it's one of those days already, and it's Monday, right? Oh, wait, no, it's Friday.
I have no idea. And we're all working in the office. So I don't know how do we track time anymore.
Doesn't
When I
matter.
say office, I mean apartment, home, house, wherever you live.
Yes. Hi, by the way, my name is Darren Pope, and this over here is Victor Farsick. We are the podcast co-host of DevOps Paradox, and on Fridays we do DevOps Paradox Live. And it's been a few interesting weeks in the tech space. What do you think?
I thought that when AWS reInvent closed, that's where everything stopped until January. That's not the case?
From an announcements perspective, yes, but there's been other things happening, like
Like or not
AWS
happening,
outages and things I'm not going to
That's
talk
other
about.
things not happening. It's not that other things happened. Other things were not happening. That's the news, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Bunch of stuff were not working.
Okay. Anyway, let's get into this week's podcast. Oh, by the way, thanks for everybody that's here with us live today. Grab your drink because I really need it. Vladislav, good to see you. Thanks for joining us here live today. Everybody else that's here live, thanks so much. I'll go ahead and say it up front because normally we wait till the end to say the thank yous. Thank you to everybody that stuck it out with us this year. We're still going to be here next year, as far as I know, unless something weird changes. But that's the plan, at least. But thank you for everything that everybody's done, all the nice comments. Even the mean comments are nice, too.
Yeah.
Because comments are good. Let's get into this week's episode. So this week's podcast was Shifting Infrastructure Management Left. This was based on a question that Victor received over on the DevOps Toolkit side of our family from Momodou. And what was the base question? I sent you the base question. What was it? Do you have it in Slack?
My memory works for up to a day.
I know, but I sent it to you in Slack. That's why I'm looking at it right now.
Cool.
I don't remember. Anyway, the question came in. I'm trying to. So the question was good, and I'm just having a hard time finding it because my machine is deciding to not be pleasant today. What is today? Is it the 17th? Yeah. Okay. It's been one of those weeks. Okay, there it is. So from your experience, what do I need to put in place to practice shift left infrastructural management in production? So we've talked a lot about shifting left just development practices, but shifting left infrastructure. And I don't remember what we talked about specifically in this episode.
I don't remember either, but
It's
I'm
been a
pretty
while.
sure that at least my part of the conversation was almost certainly about people on the right creating services for the people on the left.
That's
People
always
on
the
left-
answer.
You cannot know everything. It's ridiculous. I think that's kind of when people start talking about full stack developers that know a bit about something, everything, and nothing really sufficiently to be experts in something. So we need those experts. We need people who understand infrastructure, who understand cloud, who understand Kubernetes. And if you want to shift left, the only reasonable solution for that is actually there are two reasonable solutions for shifting left. Get highly opinionated service from somebody, from third party, like Heroku, the most commonly used example, right? Or people on the right of you create services that you consume. And it mostly depends, I think, on the size of the company. The bigger the company, the more need to create your own services because they are specific to you, right? The bigger you are, the harder it is to adopt your processes, your infrastructure, your services, your everything to some third-party highly opinionated solution. So there is market for both. And I happen to work in a company that actually is focusing on that, so I might be biased.
You would never be biased.
Yes, I try not to be. That's probably why I changed companies so often.
Chris, I'm glad somebody listened to it. So my normal process is to listen to the episode on the Friday. Today was Friday, right? Or today is Friday. Is, I don't know anymore. This is the problem. I thought today wasn't Friday. So I didn't listen to the podcast this morning on my early morning walk. And that's normally when I refresh and try to remember, okay, what did we actually talk about? I've been listening to a book. I finished it this morning called Alien. Well, I finished it, so I don't remember the name of it. It had alien in the title. It was like Alien Thinking. Really good book. But we need to talk about that later, too. But anyway, so this podcast is done. The one coming up next week is sort of our reflection on the year. Nothing too deep. So if you blow off next week, please don't. But if you do, if you decide not to listen to it, that's fine. But go ahead and download it anyway, just so the numbers still look good. But listen to it too if you want. Hey, Victor.
Okay, Darren.
How did you come into this today? Did you come in through the link or did you come in through the console?
Through the link.
Okay.
I didn't
right.
come through the console.
Just to get, okay.
I didn't.
All right. So
I need to build muscle memory. Otherwise...
I know. Well, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and give you a fair warning right now. The next door neighbors are cutting down trees. So if I disappear, that's probably why. Okay. Let's move into the greatest picture of all time. Now, this has been, I've seen variations of this over the past 2 weeks with what I will say the Log4j2 thing that happened. And that's all I'll say about that. But this goes beyond that. I'd never seen this before. And this post is from, can you say his name?
Filippo.
Okay.
Cannot
works for me.
Attempt the second part.
Yeah. Regardless, all modern digital infrastructure. These are Legos not correctly interlocked with each other, but just stacked precariously on top of each other. And then I'll go ahead and zoom this all the way in. This is actually a really good post. You should listen to it. But 3 sponsors are funding this work. Right? And what the subtext of this is, 3 sponsors are funding a single person's work. If you are a single maintainer of an open source project, and you don't have, you're doing it just for fun and it's not a whole lot of craziness, then that's great. But if it ever hits a tipping point and people really, really start using it, you might want to rethink that strategy, because then you will have just given up all your nights, weekends, and people will be yelling at you. It's been bad. It's been bad.
I mean, it's so horrible, to be honest. Kind of like now we had the problem with, I'm not going to name it, and then people start yelling, you cannot trust this, it's not good, it's this or that. But hey, it's open source. You've been using it. You have a problem, fix it. You cannot just be a user of something. You cannot just take something for free and complain that something doesn't work while you know that you have a power to fix the problem. You can complain, buy commercial software. I don't understand even why people who complain about open source and are not doing anything to fix the issues just do not buy commercial versions of things. Then you have a person to complain to.
And that's who you work for. That's who I work for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
right.
Almost all software companies, majority of software companies today are based on open source or building commercial versions on top of it. You as a user, you have a choice to choose. Hey, I can use open source version of this something, or I can purchase enterprise layer on top of that the open source, and then I'm entitled to certain things. When you use open source for free, you're not entitled to anything. You can be a good person and fix the issues that you're facing and help others not face the same issues.
Let's use a real example.
Fine. I do not expect people to actually go and fix open source projects when they discover issues or problems or something. That I don't expect everybody to do that. But then you buy commercial versions.
Right. I'm going to use SQL Light as an example here. Now, what I was unaware of, and I may have talked about this before, I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. The primary person behind SQL Light lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a very small team. At the time I last talked to the guy, it was 3 people. That was it of SQL Light. But they get support from, we got Bloomberg, Expensify, whoever these other 2 people are. And there's, including, right? So these guys got called out. They're probably paying more money to get their links here, right? Just to make it for
there
real.
are almost certainly others, yes.
Source code is in the public domain. So it's not even open source, it's public domain. By the way, so this is, okay, number 1, SQLite powers how many different systems in the world? Right?
A lot.
A lot. They mention here there are over 1 trillion SQLite databases in active use, wherever that's at. But let's go here. So you're looking at this site and you're thinking, okay, this is a pretty boring site. This is not a 2000s, even a 2020s type site, or 2020 or even 2000 site. Let's go one step further. All the things here, Hawachi. This is the company behind it. This is their website. I don't know how much money they're making. Right? I don't. But this just goes to prove that not only for my project do I not need a great website, and you have something, especially if it's, software like this, but the company behind it, you don't need anymore. In fact, this is a husband and wife. This site, I haven't checked the header on it. This site has not been updated, I know, in at least 7 or 8 years. So this was the guy, when I was running the Java user group here in Charlotte, he came out. I didn't even know who he was. Like there was somebody that said, hey, why don't we get Richard out? I went, oh, okay. Whoever he is. And then I realized, oh my goodness, SQLite. But anyway. Public domain, open source, not open contribution. This goes back to the Ben Johnson thing with, what was it called? You've seen that, right? It was built on top of SQLite for replicating SQLite. Lightspeed? Help me. I don't remember. Anyway, I could go off on SQLite for a long time. But look, they say like, hey, do you want to buy a license? A nondescript button here. It's not screaming at you, people. It's okay. If you're screaming, that's fine too. But, this is a site that's, behind numerous applications. You can fill out a little form. You can call them. You can send an email. It's a very nondescript thing for a site that powers probably 1 trillion databases. Okay, sorry, I did not mean to go there. But anyway, that goes back to this picture of, there's just a couple of people right here doing this. So what happens if that falls over? Going back to what was it, LeftPad from NPM a few years ago? Somebody got mad, ripped it out of the registry. Same type thing, right? Or worst case scenario. Go ahead.
But what happens if that falls over? Has 2 answers. You're in deep trouble. Or what I said before, you go there and take it over. Kind of like, if something like that falls over and affects your business, that's all you do not want to get involved in that project.
That's interesting. So this, if you wanted to
Because
take over...
if those 3 guys, those 3 sponsors and everybody else involved in SQL Light decides not to write a single line of code ever again, it's still not a disaster because you can do it. It's still open source. Right? It's not a problem.
Just because something is open source and as SQLite is not open to contributions, that doesn't mean you can't code on it. That means you might fork it. You might have to keep it up to date. Those kinds of things. Now legally, I'm not going to go there, right? Because I'm not a lawyer. But you could still maintain if you're building your business on something that is critical, and you don't have some sort of support for it. I'm going to air quote support big. Right? Whether it's you, whether it's somebody else, you're putting your business at risk.
And that is now you're touching on something very important, I believe. What you just said is that you're building a business around it. That's the main reason why giants like Netflixes and Spotify's of the world are so heavily involved in open source. That's not because they're nice people. I mean, they are nice people, just to clarify. I'm not saying that they're not, but they're heavily involved in open source because open source represents significant part of their services, of their code base, and they cannot just say, I trust that this will be fine forever. I need to be involved there. I need to have a certain level of control. I need to be familiar with the code base. I need to modify the code base through pull requests for that something to do what I needed to do and to fix issues and stuff like that. Significant amount of open source contributions are made because companies using it, not monetizing. I'm not talking about companies monetizing, but simply using it, recognize that they rely on it. And when you rely on something, you cannot just say, I hope for the best.
Well, you can.
You
probably shouldn't.
But a good example is where I work, right? We had problems with our software that was caused by Kubernetes, and we had some other problems in our software that is caused by Argo CD. And what is the solution, right? Kind of like, should we just stop using Kubernetes? No. We need to fix our problems that are caused by Kubernetes in our software by fixing it in Kubernetes. And then we create pull requests, and the community behind Kubernetes adopts it, and others are benefiting, and our problem is solved. That's how it works, really.
That's how it should work. Yes. But, okay. And for the people that, well, I won't go there. I'll keep my mouth shut. I had something snarky to say, but I won't do that today.
Go ahead. Say it.
No.
Say it.
It's the holiday season. I'm going to just sort of bite my tongue. But if you haven't seen this, I've seen other variations of this. It's all pretty funny. So this is a great article. Again, Filippo works on the Go team at Google, but this is his thing, so it's obviously go for it. And it goes through a whole long list of just different things and reinforces a lot of things you just said. So just think ahead, people. We were reprimanded last week.
Yes, we were slapped.
I didn't even know what was going on.
Not slapped.
I didn't know what was going on, so it's your problem, not mine.
Yeah, I was following ArgoCon for months before it happened, and then for random reasons which I cannot explain, I just forgot about it while it was happening. I have no excuse for that, but
were you there?
I heard other people talking about it. I couldn't attend.
No, I mean, were you one of the speakers and you weren't? So
no, I wasn't.
there she is again. She keeps showing up.
Oh, yeah.
On okay. Anyway, ArgoCon.
I know it was a good conference. I heard a lot of great things about it, and you can watch the videos. I think
you can watch the videos. That's what I was going to say. They're all up online now. They came out yesterday, I believe. They're still updating a few things here. So they're all out here in the public, ready to go. You can watch them at your leisure. 20 to 30 minutes. You don't need Netflix. All you need is this playlist. This will keep you busy for, I don't know, 8 hours? Come on.
Something like that.
Okay. Anyway, Argo. Okay. What happens when you upgrade to Kubernetes 1.24? The world comes into harmony. World peace is achieved. Or not?
I mean, Docker shame is removed, and nobody, unless you live in a cave, cannot say that we've been warned for a long time ago. Kind of, Docker shame was talked about so much that the only way how this can come as a surprise and you being unprepared is if you don't have internet. Right? That's the only way how somebody can say, this took me by surprise.
Yeah, there's probably other reasons I won't get into. But hey, Moz, sorry.
I'm not saying that
Totally missed
everybody is prepared for it, but nobody can say this took me by surprise.
Yeah, we're talking about it, and everybody listens to us. So there should be no surprises.
Exactly.
In case you are surprised, this is actually one of the better pictures I've seen of this. Right? It's like, here's where it was, here's where it's going to be. Or you may already be there, right? Am I saying that correctly? Are you saying anything, or is it just me? I can't hear you.
No, I'm not saying anything.
Okay. So this block is replaced with this block. End of story, right?
Yeah, and I think that's when you're talking about the bottom block doesn't have to be like that. It can be something else. Doesn't have to be container D. But the point is that kubelet speaks with CRI that is responsible to figure out what to do.
Right.
With containers.
Right. Because you may not be using container D. Right.
Could be using something else.
Right.
And more often than not, it does not really matter.
No. Okay. So this was actually a fairly interesting post, and they walk you through actually doing the upgrade to 124 alpha. So you can actually see what happens. So it's if you have some spare time over the holidays, maybe you go and play with this. You don't want to be surprised on a full-size cluster. Let's put it that way. Okay. I'll move on from that since you aren't there. So DevOps responsibility.
I spoke so much about Docker and Docker Shim so far that I don't want to sound like broken record.
Yep. Well, that's okay. We'll be able to talk about it. Anyway, this post came out from spike.sh, which is a service. And they analyzed 29 job postings from what I would consider the big ones. Apple, TikTok, okay, whatever. A lot of people. Slack. And this is a really long post. We're not going to go through it all, but I wanted to call out just this top call out. Day-to-day for the role. Looking at 29 DevOps Engineer job postings from Apple, TikTok, Airbnb, and more. 79% of the job postings manage infrastructure. That should make you happy, or make your bosses happy.
Yeah. But what's to me curious about this is that, judging by the numbers, majority of people are working both on infrastructure and CI/CD pipelines. Same people.
Yes, because the numbers are too close, right? It's just
it can kind of simply if 79% of the job postings are only about infrastructure, then that means that all the rest must be smaller than 21%.
Yeah. The one thing that was interesting, the one thing that was interesting to me, or actually there were two things interesting to me. So the obvious ones were pretty much up top here, but incident management and on-call, 31%. That number seems really low to me. I would expect that to be a much higher number or higher percentage.
Yeah, but this is not really, this is about job postings, not historical, right?
What actually does, so it's the job posting, not the actual what you do? Is that what it is?
No, I was rather, what I wanted to say is that this is what new hires people are looking for to do, right?
Yes.
In many companies, incident management on call is considered to be fine as is, whatever that means, right? Doesn't matter. Kind of, we have waves, and now one of the waves is this, right? People are looking for new people to manage infrastructure and then some other things, services, cloud in general, and things like that, right? So it goes through waves. What is popular at any given moment or year or decade, and on call is really incident management is not considered right now as a hot thing for new hires.
Right. So I thought that was
what that would be. Sorry for that.
Go ahead.
A small comment. I wouldn't be surprised that actually incident management is low. That's not surprising at all. But you will find out about that you are in charge of incident management later on. It's just not written in the job post.
Right. That's what I was referring to earlier. It's like, here's what's in the post, but here's what you're really going to do once you sign up.
Exactly.
It's sort of like you have to go through and do all these, what do they call those? Like interview tests, to where you're having to do these coding tests and all the algorithms and all the other things. But then when you get there, all you're doing is writing Word documents.
You know what is curious is how can incident management be higher than what is the next one that says below it? Production
troubleshooting. I saw that.
So that means that so you're on call, you're waiting until something happens. When something happens, you don't troubleshoot it. You don't figure out what's going on. Your role as incident management on-call person is to get the call and transfer it to somebody else.
Somebody to do it.
That must be the process. Otherwise, numbers do not really match.
No. The other one that I thought was interesting was consult the engineering team.
I would like that to be higher, to be honest. I'm guessing that this is about consulting work, but not like renting. Is there a description? Maybe?
There is, right here. There it is. Okay.
There you go.
Evangelist.
I like that. That should be higher, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be higher because this is not about quantity. You don't need 50 people to do that. You need 50 people to do whatever else from that list. So it makes sense that this is not extremely high, but I'm really happy that this is going on.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, this is just being an evangelist within your organization. So that's
consulting, right? But
yeah,
consulting in a real sense of meaning of the word, rather than being rented from one company to another. I hope.
Yeah. So that's this post. I thought this post was pretty good. All right. Is it statistically significant? No, it's 29 posts, but it's better than checking for 5. So, whatever.
Can I comment on Moses' comment, the last one there?
This one right here?
I would beg to differ. Because almost everything... So if you define production as being a live system that is used by users, right? Then staging environment is production as well. Internal users, the people in your company, for them, staging is production.
If there is if a human depends on it, it's production, no matter what it's named. Yeah,
exactly.
The way I phrase that is actually incorrect. If a human or any other system depends on that system, it's a production environment.
And it's not managed by you, right?
Correct.
So my laptop in many companies, not all, is not production, right? Something goes wrong, I need to figure it out and fix it. I don't call somebody. Nobody comes to help me out. Or at least I hope that we don't do that anymore. I remember in the past, I had no permissions to do anything on my laptop, so whatever goes wrong, I had to send it to IT department, but I hope that doesn't exist anymore. So that wouldn't be production. Staging. If I'm not fixing staging when I need to use it, then that's production.
Words. By the way, Vladislav is continuously hiring and getting ready to open up more items next week. And next week will be the week of... Do you know what next week is? I don't. 20th? Whatever it is. Go ahead.
Here's the truth. It's complicated, Vladislav, because every single company I know right now is in a desperate need for people. Everybody's hiring like crazy. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm forgetting what was happening 5 years ago, but it's just exploded. Everybody is in perpetual state of hiring. And if that's the case, if that's true, then that means that we have serious demand and not enough offer in general as industry.
We could go on and on for that. But if you're looking for a job, reach out to Vladislav. I know he's on LinkedIn. I'll leave it up here a little bit longer. Just go to him on LinkedIn. That's the best place to reach out to him.
Yeah, and Vladislav is actually offering well beyond the market value salaries. You're going to become rich. Join him. Contact him. I'm kidding.
That's yeah. There we go. Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Good. No, he hasn't heard that yet, so I think that will get there to him in just a moment. No, if you're looking, just if people are hiring, you should be looking. I'll just put it that way. Let's get into a couple of tools. Teleport 8 came out this week. You've used Teleport, right?
Not extensively, but I did, yes.
So the new version came out, but thankfully they put a TLDR up here. Teleport 8 enables easy and secure remote access to a mixed fleet of SSH-based and RDP hosts via a single port. Never been able to do that before. It was only SSH before. Now they can do... Well, I take that back. They had Kubernetes access. That was that's probably the reason why you were playing with it, right? Because that got you into the pods, and you could do whatever you wanted to there.
Correct.
And MySQL and this stuff. But they never had, up to this point, Windows. Ever. And now they've got it. Now, there are some rough edges right now. Not bad rough edges, but, there's only certain things that do work. Or, excuse me, there are certain things that don't work yet. But it's version 1 of Windows. Version 1 is always true. Do you still even have a Windows machine at all?
No, not anymore. I mean, I have it in a drawer, but it's so old.
It's not powered on, right? Same way with me. No. My most powerful, I do have a Windows 7 machine that has a gig of RAM that's just sitting under my desk. That's not even powered on. So I have more memory in my Raspberry Pi. I have an 8 gig Raspberry Pi. But anyway.
I had to use Windows in the past, mostly because I was compelled, because much of the work I do is public. So I had to use Windows to make sure that things work, right? But now that it's widely accepted that everybody uses, what is WSL?
Yeah.
Kind of like the need to really test it on Windows is much smaller. For me.
Yeah, for you. Yeah. So fortunately, Teleport does have a free version. So if you want to get rid of how they did call us out, is this RDP in a browser? And this says, no, it's not, thankfully. That would be a bad idea. Limitations currently are, it doesn't work with the Teleport's HSM integration, doesn't support clipboard sharing, okay, whatever. Doesn't report session recording, that's fine. Per session MFA, again, early. All these are fine. It is open source. I couldn't remember if it was open source or not. But anyway, it's out. Don't install that over Christmas. That would be a bad idea.
So funny when it says it's open source and it's developed in open, as if it's important to stress the second part out, just in case.
Well, that sort of goes back to SQL Light, right? It is developed in the open, but it doesn't accept any pull. Now, this one does accept pull request, I believe. But
okay. Yeah, and
we'll move on.
You can always fork SQL Light if you don't like that.
You could. So this, I scrolled down too far. Rancher Desktop 0.7, now with Docker CLI support, the ability to run Apple Silicon. So what they did, 2 big features. People are used to Docker CLI, fair enough. Now you can choose to run either Containerd or Moby. Okay.
Okay, if they say so. Okay. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, it says here, the socket is needed for runtime and CLI for other tools such as K3D. Okay. You may have a use case for it. So moving along. Apple Silicon support.
That's big.
This is big, but some caveats. You need a Rosetta 2. Not surprising if you're still on Silicon right now. There are some components that aren't available with Silicon builds. They're working on a completely native in the roadmap. Fine. Cross-building between AMD 64 and ARM isn't supported yet. QEMU, you're still stuck with. But
Yeah.
first pass, right?
What matters is that that is now becoming their focus, right?
Yeah.
Actually, to my knowledge, M1 was supposed to be supported a while ago, but then Rancher Desktop changed the priorities mostly around nerd cattle.
Yeah.
And now it's back. And yeah, I'm really, 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 really happy about that.
Well, those were the two big things.
By
Yeah,
the
go
way,
ahead.
Darin, now that I was slammed in many comments, completely unrelated with what we're talking about, but mostly because I mentioned nerd cattle. Is it okay to say cattle, or it must be command? People were slamming me for saying cattle.
Cuddle is fine.
Okay. I had to ask a native English speaking person.
You could say nerd CTL. That's okay. You can say nerd cuddle. Like I'm cuddling up with a blanket.
Yeah, no, it's
That's fine.
more because people were slamming me kind of, you cannot say something cattle. It's control or CTL.
No, it's definitely not control. Definitely not control. I am in the hard camp of no for that. CTL is fine, right? Because it's, but no, not control. It's not because it's not control. Well, it is, but it
What
isn't.
is it short for?
I don't know. I figured you knew.
I'm just
Christmas holiday work, right? Figure out what CTL stands for.
exactly.
Probably is control. Also, we'll go back here for a second from Dreamcat 4 here. It's important for teleport's uptake to be open source. Agreed. For being able to, for real. Yeah, like doing audits are a big deal. And to develop trust. Yeah, I completely.
And I think that applies to basically every software vendor. The only exception I can imagine is for software vendors that choose to have service SaaS only solutions. If it's not SaaS, then it needs to be based on open source.
I don't know that I agree with that, but it's okay. It's not worth a fight.
Sure. Next time.
But as Dreamcat 4 says, it's supposed to be control. No, I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. I'm not going to go there. I've talked about a tool in the past called Hermit, and I actually did a video for it over on the Day Job channel. Aqua is similar to Hermit. Basically, what both of these tools do is they give you the ability to define the tooling that you need to install to do whatever it is that you're doing. So I'm going to just scroll down into the tutorial here real quick and look at what the YAML is for it. So you have to get a binary and then you have to set up a path, normal things, not real surprising. You point it at a registry and a version of the registry, which this is different than how Hermit works. Hermit, you don't define a registry. There is just a registry, period. I actually like this level of abstraction. This is similar to, I'll say it this way, this is similar to how the Jenkins update centers work. There is a version of an update center for Jenkins tied to a specific version of Jenkins. So I like this level of abstraction. And then you just define what do I want to install. So in this case, it's FZF and specifically this version. Because you don't necessarily always want latest, right?
The only thing that is strange no, you definitely don't want latest. But to me, what is strange is that packages is not inside registries. So it's not like the standard registry applies to those packages. It's kind of like, oh, there are 57 different registries and 5,000 different packages. And I guess that the tool will go from one registry to another until it finds that's something in that registry.
Yeah, I'm working on a video for this that'll come out probably the first week of January on the Day Job channel. just because it looks pretty interesting. But basically, once you do whatever it is that you're doing, it puts it into wherever you want it to be. In this case, it's home directory .aqua. So think Maven or Gradle. Think about the dot directories at the root of something. Bin directory, and then wherever the binary is. Again, you might be saying, well, why don't you just use brew? Well, you could use brew, but you would need to not just run brew update. And I can't think of a clean way. I would not want to manage a declarative definition for brew. I can't think of anything that would be sane with that. You could.
Yeah, I guess this is probably not for daily usage, so I don't see myself using something like that when I want to install a new tool like GH, for example. I see there an example. I will still use brew for that. Yeah. This is probably cool if you want to bootstrap a new machine right away. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the CI implications here are big. But
yeah, when you want to bootstrap servers with whatever you need, that definitely
the job
should be done with brew or something.
Right.
One by one.
They've got a GitHub action that already exists, and there's also a Circle CI orb. And nice. I'll be adding something for Jenkins. So, or at least show how to use it with Jenkins. So that's Aqua. Again, Hermit is something else that's similar. Hermit is from the people at Square. Cash App, actually from Cash App. I don't know if that's over in Europe or not. Do you have the Cash App in Europe?
I don't.
No? Okay.
I don't know what it is.
I'm not sure if it's basically like, you've heard of Venmo, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, Venmo for transferring money.
Right. So Cash is like Venmo-ish. But Square bought Cash. Doesn't matter. We'll move on from there. Okay. I've got two demos to do today. Small demos. Can we do this? Can I do this?
Go.
Can I do this without blowing everything up? Okay, I have to share my screen differently here. Okay. So we'll share the screen. So what I have first is something called STTR. Now, for most people, you don't do a whole lot of string management. If you're a developer, you're probably doing it in your code. But for somebody like me who needs to create slugified URLs or take care of casing things separately, this tool gives you the ability to do a lot of different things. STTR. It is available in Brew. That's how I installed it. And that's how I'm going to run it here real quick. And in fact, so if we just take a look at, am I in the right place? Yes. So if I look at STTR help. So you can do lots of different I'll call it string math. Whether it's math or not doesn't matter. But you can encode, decode, base64 URL stuff. So think about this as if you're writing some scripts and you need to be able to do this kind of stuff on the fly. Maybe you'd written a CLI for it before. Maybe not, right? But you can do all sorts of different casing. You can convert Markdown to HTML. I haven't actually tried that one yet. That could be interesting. I'm not sure what it's going to generate. Getting SHA-256s, 512s. I mean, some of these things sort of make sense. Some not so much. So we're going to use an example that I had earlier today in that very first, was it the first post today? Or after, yeah, where we had the falling block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick run of Control-R, STTR. And so what I'm doing here is I'm going to create title case because when I copied professional maintainers, if we go back and look at this, his title was all uppercase. Well, I want a nice pretty case because I needed that for the podcast or for the description for today. So I'm going to lowercase it and then pipe it over to title. So now I can chain all this stuff together. So now if I enter that, then it gives me that. What I can't do directly, which was sort of strange, was STTR title and then give it all uppercase. It didn't know what to do with that. So I thought this was a pretty cool tool because there's just enough things here that I can use it for. And it's, again, Go binary, so it's available pretty much everywhere. The one thing is if you're installing it on a Mac, you do have to put in a new tap first. That was the only thing that I just do a brew install and it's like, oh, why isn't it? Oh, I forgot to tap it. And that was it. So but there are a lot of steps. Oh, zero padding. Have you ever had to zero pad things? That's a pain in the butt to write a little bit of code for. Now you got a little command line.
What is zero pad? Sorry.
Let's say I'm going to use the numbers 1 through 10. but I want it to be a string that is 10 characters long.
Okay.
I want to zero pad the front just with zeros or whatever. This is COBOL thinking, right? I'm taking up spaces. But anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. There's a YAML to JSON. That one I haven't tried yet. So yeah, that's Moz just called that out too. JSON to YAML, YAML to JSON. I think it goes both ways. So here's all the options. But again, I showed it in help. But they've got a lot of stuff here. And it's
nice.
Pretty active. So anyway, for a lot of people, I haven't upgraded. There's a new one that came out yesterday. What's in the release notes? Let's see. Strict for Snap, new processor. Okay. All right, so nothing huge for yesterday. All right, so that's tool one that I liked. Second tool is called Croc, supported by DigitalOcean, which I need to call some of my friends at DigitalOcean and find out what's going on. So Croc's a tool that allows any two computers to simply and securely transfer files and folders. It allows any two computers to transfer data using a relay. Now, this is key. You have to use a relay. Moz, I'm sorry, I'm going to get rid of your comment. End-to-end encryption using PAKE. You also do cross-platform, doesn't matter. You can do multi-files, resume files, whatever. You can also use a proxy. So there's a relay in the middle. By default, it's a public relay. You can run your own relay. We'll look at that in a second, but I'm going to show you an example of this real quick. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to Croc send my netlify toml file. So what's going to happen is we get a code that we would send. Like if I'd done this correctly, I would have called Victor ahead of time and had him install Croc. Give him a code. And this is what I was talking to Victor about before we started today. If you've heard of what three words, if you've never heard of what three words, I'm going to show you that real quick. But this reminded me of what three words. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the other side. In fact, it gives me the whole command to run. I'm just going to copy this. Well, now I've got a different machine that's just a different shell. It's a Raspberry Pi that's still in the house, but whatever. And I enter that in. It connects. It secures. Do I want it? Yes. And it downloads the file. Now, if any of you try to use that, it's gone already because that tunnel has now been torn down. Right?
That's really cool.
Now, I'm going to show you the what three words because I'd forgotten about this. So this is an arena near downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. It's where the Charlotte Hornets play if you're into basketball. Now, what you can't see here is if I was to tell Victor, okay, hey, I want you to meet me at Spectrum Center. That's the name of the arena. I want you to meet me at Spectrum Center. And that's all I told him. Where would we meet? Right? We could say, okay, well, I need you to meet me at Will Call. Well, strangely enough, there's two Will Calls at Spectrum Center. So which one would you meet at? What three words has broken down the planet, including Antarctica, into 3x3 meter grids?
Okay.
So what I can say is, hey, I want to meet right here at this 3x3 grid. And then here are the three words: precaution, videos, flame, or whatever the thing was before I clicked away from it. Or if I don't want to meet at that grid, I want to meet at this grid. Well, it has a different three words. So the whole world has been sliced and diced into 3x3 meter grids. Or into a 3x3 meter grid.
Nice. I like that.
Now, there's obviously a mobile app for this too. So instead of saying, hey, take me to Spectrum Center, now what I would say is take me to Public Engage Fall.
Does the mobile app, does it detect where you are in case you can just say, hey, come where I am?
Yep.
Nice.
What three words? This is a super cool thing, especially when you're like around a big venue that you don't know anything about. It's like, here, meet me here. Because usually if they're coming around the corner, then they're going to say, oh, there you are. Right? You don't need the full 3x3, but if I can get to 10x10, that's probably close enough. I thought this is one of the coolest apps ever. Speaking of cool apps, why were you doing an operating cluster API? What was your choice? Why did you choose to do that?
It's becoming big and interesting. A lot of companies are exploring it right now, and either already investing in it or thinking whether to invest in it. So I thought to give my 2 cents on the topic. TLDR, I think it's great, but too late.
Too late.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it too late?
Because there are already other tools that do something very similar with a bigger scope and more mature.
Is it just a block? A building block, if you will? Is it just a building block?
Yeah, so that's, I think that, so there are two things interesting about it, or two questions. Should you use it? And my answer is, unless you're on-prem, the answer is no. And the other question is, should you use it without knowing, or to put it in other words, should that become a building block for other tools to start using it? Then the answer is, yeah, very likely, potentially, why not? So I think it's a building block rather than the solution. And that's great.
Do you have a video coming out next week?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay. I wasn't sure if you were taking a week off for that or not.
Yeah, no. I'm never going to take a week off. Maybe I will. We'll see. Next week will be about scaling clusters. That's all you'll get.
Okay. Is it done yet? I haven't looked.
My part is done.
Your part is.
My part is done. Yeah, editing is still in process. Okay. Usually, I get the final version on Saturday night.
Oh, at least it's Saturday night and not Monday morning when it's supposed to be going live.
It happened. Sometimes it's Monday morning. Sometimes it's an hour before it should go live. But the target is to have it Saturday night so that I can do the final touches, like time codes, review potential changes, blah, 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 on Sunday.
Yeah. So you've got a video coming out. We've got a podcast coming out on Wednesday. But next Friday, we're not here.
We're not doing it? Okay.
No.
We're off.
We're off. Because think about it. It's Christmas Eve. A lot of our people are in Europe. So it would be, what is our timing here? 7 to 8 p.m. European time on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. So no, we're taking next Friday off. Now we will be back. Unlike that, we should be back. I'm going to say it that way. We reserve the right to change our minds. We should be back on New Year's Eve because nobody cares about New Year's Eve from 7 to 8 p.m. Right?
I don't know anymore what date is it. My family just tells me.
That's your family's role and my role to tell you, okay, what it is. It's like when I mess up and don't know what day it is, that's the problem. Because then we lose it all. Maz asked a question. Last week I asked you how to deploy stateful set across multi-cluster and how to maintain replication between them.
I mean, that part is relatively easier. Just deploy across multiple clusters using kubectl.
But you're going to have to use something like Pure, right?
So
stateful set?
Yeah, the problem is data, really.
Right.
The stateful set application is not really an issue. How do you replicate data? That's a trouble.
Right.
I should probably explore that in one of the upcoming videos.
Okay, that would be good.
But one video that is coming probably 2 weeks from now is going to be how, and kind of partly answers your question, is how to manage applications using GitOps at scale on multiple clusters.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Vladislav says, have a great, I can say that, Log4j free weekend. I'm going to.
Yep.
I'm not using Log4j this weekend. I can guarantee you that. That I can say. All right. So again, we're not here next Friday. Hopefully you won't be. In fact, we only put up we're taking a week off. We're just not going to be here. Thanks again for everybody that's been here with us live. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Again, we should be back on New Year's Eve. Do you have, this is one, we didn't talk about this yesterday. Do you have a AMA on the day before New Year's Eve? 2 weeks from now? Oh, no. 13 days from now?
Unless, I think so, yeah.
Was that planned? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was planned to be called off or not.
It's planned to be.
Okay.
Now, whether we'll plan not to do it, that's a different question. But as it stands now, until one of us says no, it's going to happen, yes.
Okay. Oh, wasn't sure. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great holiday season. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Why is that not rolling?